Hey guys, welcome. We're talking about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program today. So hopefully you guys will come on in the room and and go ahead and follow as well. That would be greatly appreciated. Looks like TikTok is notifying everyone that we are live. We're talking about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program today, guys. So if you have questions, come on in the room. We are really talking about the differences between the regular public service loan forgiveness and the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program. I really want you guys to understand the differences so you can really see if the program is right for you. So once again, if you're just coming in the room, we're talking about the public service loan forgiveness program, so student loans, as well as the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program. So come on in the room, go ahead and if you could, and follow. That would be so great. We're going to get started pretty soon here. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Come on in the room. We're talking about student loans today. So student loan forgiveness, public service loan forgiveness, and temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. Come on in the room. Go ahead and like the broadcast and follow. That would be so great. I appreciate it. My lens, my life. How's everybody weekend going? Can't believe it's over already. It's already Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. It's almost 9:00. Everybody getting ready for the week, grocery shopping, all that good stuff. And the weather has been a little strange, so make sure you guys have your water on hand, your food on hand. I need to do the same actually. Just in case we get surprises, we want to be prepared for those. All right, let's go ahead and get started, guys. So we're talking about the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program and the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. So student loans, that is what we're talking about, okay? So what exactly is the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program? So it's a program that the Department of Education came up with that when you pay 120 payments or 10 years worth of payments, your principal and your interest will be forgiven. And so this initial program has a lot of different caveats and things like that. And so what I really want to go over, though, is that what is the difference between the regular public service loan forgiveness program, where normally they have so many provisions where most people don't qualify, and which was the big issue before, is that people didn't qualify because, they were on the wrong repayment plan. They didn't have the form filled out by their employer. They had, late payments and partial payments and all of these things. So it was keeping people from being able to receive the loan forgiveness. So before this temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program, I knew almost no one who had received loan forgiveness. I think one person, one pharmacy friend, that was it. And now I know, 5, 6 crazy amounts, and actually even more than that now that you guys have posted on some of my started. So in order to, I think we're in and out of connection a little bit. So in order to be qualified for the public service loan forgiveness, you do have to be in repayment status. So you cannot be in deferment. So that's a biggie with the student loan forgiveness, is that so Ghostwriter, you want to be in repayment status in order to be able to qualify. Okay. And so we talked about so far. So the public service loan forgiveness program being that you have to, in order to get your principal balance and your interest forgiven, 120 payments. So it's at least 10 years of payments. So I have a friend, her name is Roz the Diva on TikTok. Actually, you can go follow her. That Biden announced it ends October 31st, 2022. So which means that you have to have loans consolidated. So we'll talk about that as well. So loans consolidated into a direct consolidation loan, and then have your application in by that October 31st, 2022 deadline. Because as of right now, it has not been extended. So I need you guys to be aware of that, okay? And remember, this program is separate from everyone wants to join the live. This program is separate from the Biden announcement for the one-time debt relief. which is, remember, the $10,000 for the different income limits, $10,000 and then $20,000 for the Pell Grant recipients. This is a different program, okay? So this temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program, why is it better? Why is it better and more just advanced and more for our favor if we have student loans? So remember, we said that the regular PSLF program, you had to be on a specific repayment plan. It was like you had to be on the standard repayment plan or the income driven repayment plan. And those were the only two that counted. But now it's extended. So it can be, the graduated repayment plan you can be on, or you can be on the extended repayment plan with the temporary expanded PSLF. And then also a huge caveat is that after March 13th, 2020, that is when the student loan payments were on pause, as well as the interest. After that time, anytime during that pause, so we call it a $0 suspension time frame, each month those payments counted towards your 120 payments. And so that's the exciting part. So when you apply, those payments where you actually didn't make a payment, so a $0 suspended payment is what I call it, counts toward your 120 payments. And so that is a huge thing for really a lot of people. But remember, there's a few areas where you have to qualify first, okay? Somebody had a question. Let's see. Danielle Templeton, 5-year public servant, but haven't paid on my loans for 2 years. So I shouldn't do it. 5-year public servant, but I haven't paid on my loans for 2 years. No, not necessarily, Danielle. So she said she's been a 5-year public servant, but she hasn't paid on her loans for 2 years. So I shouldn't do it. So, but Danielle, so you didn't pay for 2 years because of the COVID suspension. Is that right? And then so those 2 years you have not been working for the same job? Was it still a public service job for those 2 years? So that's a big question, because so that means that when you would apply, which you would have to make sure, which we'll just talk about soon, is that if you're in public service, you have to make sure that your employer is a qualifying employer. So that's the first step. So we have to make sure too that for those 5 years that public service job was indeed a qualified employer per the Department of Education, because then that means those 5 years should count. And then you'll have to let me know, Danielle, for the 2 years. So were those $0 suspended payments and you were still working for that same company, for that same public service job? So those are a few things to consider. So what are the requirements to qualify? She said, yes, I'm a state employee. My loan is in COVID deferral status. Okay, so Danielle says that she is a state employee and she's been a state employee then for so that means full 7 years then, right? And so, but her loan is in COVID deferral status, so it's suspended. Okay, so which means based on the information you've given me, Danielle, I would apply, because that means that those 5 years would count. And so they'll count those. And then the 2 years where you weren't paying, but they were in a $0 suspended status, each month those payments counted. So 5 years employed by the state. Okay, so those 2 years you were not. So remember though, those 2 years, so in order to count towards the program, those 2 years you would have to be still employed by the state, but then they were $0 suspended payments each month. So the 5 years though should count if they are a qualifying employer. And then you would know by going on studentaid.gov and then typing in the employer identification number on the website. But those 5 years should count. So remember, if those 5 years count, that's exciting, because that means 5 years down, 5 to go. 5 is nothing. So you got it, Danielle. Okay, so what are the requirements to qualify? So we talked about just now a qualifying employer. So I know it's hard to understand this a little bit, because everybody's like, what in the world is a qualifying employer? So like I was telling Danielle, you have to go on studentaid.gov. And then when you go on there, you find the PSLF search tool. And in the search tool, you'll be able to put in the EIN number, or otherwise known as the employer identification number. You're welcome, Danielle. So you'll be able to put in that employer identification number. So where do you find this EIN number? So when you look at your W-2, so it'll be the top left. In that top left corner, you'll find that employer identification number. And you'll be able just to type that in. And the site should tell you saying, hey, yes, this is a qualifying employer or not. But then remember, just in case, let's say it doesn't show that your company that you work for is a qualifying employer, you can always call the Department of Education and make sure, double check, because employers change their tax status all the time. And so I think, I think my last employer, one person said in HR, oh no, we don't do public service loan forgiveness. And then like a year or two later, they were like, oh no, we do it. I was like, okay. So make sure you call. And I would call maybe several times a year just so I can make sure that, hey, okay, they still don't qualify, or they do now, because it's always possible. But you guys don't have to pick up the phone and ask those questions, okay? So that's one of the first things. And then I always have the document with me. So this is, and I'm gonna see, can I show you guys? But I think I'm gonna have to flip my camera, which I don't know if I can do that while I'm on here, to be perfectly honest. Hold on one second here. Because I want to show you guys what the public service loan forgiveness paperwork looks like. But I don't think I can flip while I'm live. Okay, so, but when you print out the document, you can either write on it and send it in, or of course you can fill it out online and then send it that way. So the document really tries to help you qualify your employer before you send in the document, so you're not, wasting precious time. So on here, it literally says, so what is a governmental organization? Because we're trying to figure out, okay, so if I work for the government or it's a nonprofit, usually these are qualifying employers, but it's still a step further than that, which is why you need to type in the EIN number. So the employer, the governmental organization. A governmental organization is a federal, state, local, or tribal government organization, agency, or entity, a public child or family service agency, a tribal college or university, or the Peace Corps or the AmeriCorps. Federal service also includes the military service. Okay, and it goes on to ask you separate questions about, like, is your employer tax exempt under Section 501c3? And of course, that's nonprofit terms of the IRC, so of the Internal Revenue Code. And so it goes through and asks you these questions to try to help you qualify whether your specific employer is a qualifying employer, to avoid you wasting your time, okay? And then it even goes down to ask you specifically about, let's see, like, are you law enforcement, military service? It asks, are you public health? It goes on to say, okay, are you public safety? Are you public interest legal services, childhood education, public library services? So there are lots of possible qualifying employers, but you need to make sure before you start this process. So, okay, let me stop. Let me get off my soapbox, okay? Because I know a lot of you guys ask that question, like, who qualifies? Because I know that there are nurses, there are pharmacists, there are dentists, there are, right, people of all kinds of different hospitals and things like that, but not all of those are qualifying employers. So go on studentaid.gov to find out, okay? You also need to be working full-time, but full-time is not 40 hours. You have to be working at least an average of 30 hours, okay? If you guys are just coming in the room, we're talking about student loan forgiveness. So specifically, public service loan forgiveness and temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. And we said it is just one document that you have to fill out. So first, you need to know, is your employer a qualifying employer? Are you working full-time, an average of 30 hours a week? And then your loans have to be consolidated into a direct consolidation loan. And there's actually, when you go on to the website, so studentaid.gov, not only will you have a document that is the application to fill out for PSLF and temporary expanded PSLF, you will also have a form to fill out to consolidate your student loans. So it'll ask you about references. It'll ask you about if you want to consolidate all your loans. A big thing with consolidation is that you do not have to consolidate every single loan. Like, maybe you want to leave one out because you're almost done paying it off, or it has a super low interest rate, things like that. So that's actually okay, but not everybody knows that. I know I didn't know that because I actually consolidated my loans 5 years ago, well, over 5 years ago, and then refinanced my student loans as well. So I didn't know that then. I didn't realize I could leave certain loans out because maybe they had a super low interest rate or I was almost done paying them off. And then you have to be careful to loans. Can you help me figure out what my payment would look like? Because for some people, the payment, from the last live, one woman said that her payment doubled. And then some people, their payment goes down, right? Because when you consolidate your loans, you consolidate your loans into, or all of your loans into one loan with hopefully a new lower interest rate. But it sometimes depends. So I want you guys to be aware of that. I just filled out the form this evening. Who at your job is signing this? I would take your form. So the question is, Honey Love, I just filled out the form this evening. So she filled out her PSLF and temporary expanded PSLF form. And so who at your job is signing this? I would take it to HR. I would take your form to HR to fill out that information, because if they are indeed a qualifying employer, they should be ready to sign on the dotted line. So I would take it to them. Okay. Let's see. So the next part, this part is maybe a little confusing. Hopefully not though, but it was a portion that, we're talking about the requirements to qualify. So the amount you pay 12 months before you apply and your last payment, or you basically have to have, let's see, I'm trying to think how to explain this. So it's the amount you pay 12 months before you apply. So it's basically, what is your payment then? And then what was your last payment? And then, which means that in order to qualify though, you have to at least be paying what you would pay on an income-based repayment plan. I don't think this is really a qualification that is really difficult. It sounds like I haven't heard anybody mention this at all, but I found this qualification, you're welcome, Honey Love, on studentaid.gov. So I was just like, that's fascinating. That's a fascinating qualification. But the big ones are have a qualifying employer, work full time at least 30 hours, and consolidate your loans into a direct consolidation loan. Those are the biggest things, okay? And so we also talked about, how do you check to see if your employer qualifies? So remember, if you want to see how your employer qualifies, you find that EIN number, that employer identification number on your W-2, top left, and put that into the search tool, the PSLF search tool. Okay, so that's very important. And then remember, the employment has to be after October 1st, 2007. So that's really important to remember. Okay. And of course, these employers will be like government and nonprofit organizations. Okay. If you guys are just coming in the room, we're talking about student loan forgiveness. So both public service loan forgiveness and the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. And if you guys could go ahead and like the broadcast and also follow, that would be so great. So one of the last things I want to talk about is the biggest differences between public service loan forgiveness and the temporary expanded PSLF. So really, the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness, studentaid.gov literally just says, hey, these funds really are temporary and there are not a lot of funds. And it, of course, doesn't tell you how much money they have, but I'm like, hey, why are we worried about that part? You just want to get your form in so you can get your loans forgiven, okay? So now, remember we said that your $0 suspended COVID payments would count towards your 120 payments or your 10 years. That's important to remember. And then remember, we also said that you have an extended list of repayment plans that now qualify. Okay. I'm going to see if I can turn this board around. Hold on one second, because I want to show you guys. I don't even know if I can do this, guys. I'm like, anybody know how to be on live and actually show writing that doesn't show backwards? That is what I really want to know. And yeah, I can't flip the screen. We're going to see. Hold on one second. We're going to do something funky. Can you guys see this board? You can kind of see this board, right? Sort of, kind of. We're going to see if I can hold it there. Does it show up backwards? Yeah, it shows up backwards. Okay, well, we're going to read it, okay? So, yeah, it's backwards. Yeah. So if anybody knows how to make your words not show backward on live, that would be so great. Because I would really like to just show you guys this. And see, it shows up backwards here too. But to show you guys the actual chart. But that's okay. So normal public service loan forgiveness requirements. So initially, your loans had to be direct loans only. So basically, direct consolidation loans only. That was your only option. So now with the limited or the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness, so this, remember, it ends October 31st, 2022. Your loan can be a direct loan, it can be a Perkins loan, and it can be an FFEL loan. And so now with the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness, so these private loans, Perkins loans, and FFEL loans, you can now, at least from what I'm reading, you can now consolidate those loans into a direct consolidation loan. Okay? So now that means under this new temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness, it's not just direct loans, it's direct loans, it's Perkins loans, and it's FFEL loans. That's really important for you guys to remember. So if you guys have private loans, now is the time to call your servicer or Department of Education, whoever it is, and try to consolidate those private loans into a federal direct consolidation loan. Will this time come again? I don't know, but you definitely should try, okay? So that's a big deal. That's a really big deal, because then that means when you would normally not qualify for loan forgiveness, they are giving you guys an opportunity to qualify. So I need you guys to really look into it if you have private loans, or if you know somebody who has private loans, I need you to share this with them, okay? Boxing Marine, thank you so much for letting everybody know to follow. I appreciate it so much. Okay, so the second one is that, so normal PSLF requirements, you had to have full on-time payments. So it had to be full payments, and they had to be on-time payments. But now this limited or temporary expanded PSLF program, which ends October 31st, once again, you can have late or partial payments. So late payments or partial payments could also count towards one of your payments for student loan forgiveness. So I need you guys to understand that. So regular program, your payments had to be full payments and they had to be on time. This new program, temporary expanded, they can be late payments or they can be partial payments. That's big. That's really big, because sometimes you can't pay the full payment. Okay. Number 3 is that you had to be, it's big. Sometimes I find out things and I'm like, if you're employed, so this is the regular public service loan forgiveness. You had to be employed full time when you applied for the program. When you applied for the program and received forgiveness, the regular PSLF program. The limited or the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program, you literally do not have to be employed by that full-time employer when applying or receiving the forgiveness. That is big. So which means if you are retired or you have friends that are retired, let's say they worked for a nonprofit for 40 years, they can still receive loan forgiveness. Because most people are like, well, I retired already. I no longer work there, because the regular program states that you must be working full-time at that qualifying employer when you apply and when you receive forgiveness for your student loans. But the limited waiver says you don't have to be. You don't have to be working full-time when you apply or when you receive the forgiveness. That is big. So, but you have to apply by October 31st, 2022. Okay? So that's the third one. The fourth one are the repayment plans, because remember we talked about the normal program, PSLF, states that you had to be on a standard repayment plan or an income-driven repayment plan. Some people were, but most people were not just on those plans. So now the limited waiver states that it can be any repayment plan. It could be a graduated repayment plan. It could be an extended repayment plan. And that is really important, because different people have different repayment plans that they've chosen, right? So it's great that you're not being knocked out, that you don't have to be on just a standard and just an income-driven repayment plan only, okay? And then the fifth one is really important too. So if you guys know people who are retired or who are teachers, like these are huge waivers that are for a limited time only, right? It's like a limited time only fragrance. It's limited. So after it's over, from my understanding, the program requirements will go back to the normal PSLF requirements. So now, if you are a teacher, your period of service for your teacher loan forgiveness normally does not also qualify for public service loan forgiveness. But now, with the limited waiver, that period of service that counted for your teacher loan forgiveness also counts for your public service loan forgiveness, but on the limited waiver. So which means that makes you just much more closer to getting your loan forgiveness, because now your payments are counting twice, because they're counting for the teacher loan forgiveness and the PSLF program. So teachers should also look into that. I know someone asked me online when she was afraid of messing up her teacher loan forgiveness if she applied. And in this case, it's a loophole or a glitch that would work in her favor. And so you guys want to really look into the program to find out, okay, could the limited public service loan forgiveness program work in my favor? And I really want that for you guys. I really want it to work in your favor. And so those are I guess that's like 5 different caveats with the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness that really work for you guys. So really look into it and look into, is consolidation in your favor as well? Make the phone call to ask your servicer or the Department of Education whether consolidation is for you as well, because what will your payment be? Because remember, once the consolidation is done, you cannot reverse it, okay? So what questions do you guys have? If you're just coming in the room, we are talking about student loan forgiveness, specifically the public service loan forgiveness and the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. Any questions? Please like the broadcast if you could, and go ahead and follow. That would be greatly appreciated. Let's see, Musical Messengers. That's a cool name. He says, as a government worker, if my payments are $0, do those count as payments? So yes, if you're a government worker, this means that you should be that is a qualifying employer, should mean. And so yes, those $0 payments or $0 COVID suspended payments is what I call them usually, those count. So it's been almost 3 years. All of those count. So every month where there was a $0 payment because it was frozen by the Department of Education, those count. So what should that be? That's right, 12 months by 3 years, about 36 payments that will count, and you didn't have to pay a dime. Thanks for the question, Musical Messengers. That's such a cool name. Welcome in, Daryl Johnson, Gravy Baya, Tammy Lemons. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So if you're just coming in the room, we're talking about student loan forgiveness, the public service loan forgiveness, and a temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program. I'm trying to think if I have anything else that I want to share with you guys. Come on in the room. Let me know if you have questions. And then remember, the deadline is October 31st. I am Luke Survival. Hello, how are you? I'm doing pretty well for a Sunday evening, I would say. Let's see. We were saying that the time frame where you can apply, October 31st, 2022. So what other questions do you guys have? You're well just stopping in. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. And then the last time I went live, it was actually just Friday, I think. The days are running together, okay? The deadline is October 31st for what? Okay, October 31st to apply for the public service, the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program. That's what we were talking about in Sin City. And the temporary public service loan forgiveness, we were telling everybody that basically more of your payments would count compared to previously. So the regular program is public service loan forgiveness. So the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness is counting your $0 COVID suspended payments. So over the last 3 years or so, so after March 13th, 2020, any of those payments count if you work for a qualifying employer. So a governmental or nonprofit organization. Of course, you're welcome to Sin City. I know there was a deadline. Yes, there is a deadline, right? There's a deadline for the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. And then the regular program, the public service loan forgiveness, there isn't a deadline to apply to that one at this time. It's basically just ongoing. But there are not as many perks, basically, to applying for the public service loan forgiveness. Because temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness, they're counting more repayment plans, they're counting late payments and partial payments, they're counting if you're on teacher loan forgiveness, they're also counting your payments even if you are retired. They're saying that you don't have to be still working at your current employer when you apply and receive forgiveness. There's a lot of caveats that are great if you work for a public service entity. C. White, welcome in, welcome in. Any other questions? We're talking about public service loan forgiveness and the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. So student loan forgiveness. Fierce RN, welcome in, welcome in. Let me know if you have questions. And then I was going to tell you guys that I guess maybe switch gears just a little bit because maybe you have questions about, because on Friday I did a live about the student loan update. So the update was actually that because there's about 4 million borrowers that are now excluded from this loan forgiveness one-time debt relief that Biden announced recently. And so now if you have FFEL loans or Perkins loans that are not held by the Department of Education, they no longer qualify for the one-time debt relief. So which means if it's FFEL and Perkins loans, they have to be held by the Department of Education. So if they're privately held, then they no longer qualify. So that was something that just came up I think that was Thursday of last week. Is it still a 10-year payment qualification? For temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness and public service loan forgiveness, yes, it's still a 10-year payment qualification. But remember, those 36 payments, so that 3 years where it was COVID and just under 3 years, where those suspended payments, those count in those 10 years. Every single last one counts, which is amazing. Thank you, Angela Davis, for the follow the host comment. I appreciate it. Please do go ahead and follow if you could and like the broadcast. I really appreciate it. Oh, somebody is trying to join the live. I wonder what would happen if someone just randomly joined the live. Well, we'd have some entertainment. Welcome, user 805, all the numbers. Thank you for coming in. Will Ruth, we are talking about student loan forgiveness, both temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness and public service loan forgiveness. Let's see. Oh, there was something I wanted to tell you guys. So with the new update from Thursday that Biden announced about excluding borrowers who have privately held FFEL loans and Perkins loans, it was also stated that there was a caveat though. So let's say you were about that business and before it was announced, so before September 29, 2022, you went ahead and consolidated your loans, because before they were saying that's what you could do. Department of Education said you could, before, for this one-time debt relief, consolidate your FFEL loans and your Perkins loans into a direct consolidation loan. So now they've 86 that and said, no, you can't do that. But if you were about your business and you did it before September 29th, 2022, you will get your debt relief because it was just announced the 29th of September. So you'll get your debt relief if you already went ahead and applied to consolidate those FFEL loans and Perkins loans. So when the announcements are made and it's in your favor, run, don't walk. Run, get the information you need from the Department of Education, and if it's in your favor, go, act immediately. Because just like that, right, it turned around in a month. So what was said a month ago, August 22nd, right, when the first initial Biden announcement came out about the one-time debt relief, I was like, within that week, you had some information about being able to consolidate private loans. So you do have to act quickly. Act quickly, guys. When the information comes out, do the best you can to research it and then go. Let's see. I am Luke Survival. What would happen if someone joined the live? It would be funny. We would really have some entertainment. My friend Raza Diva, the one I was telling you guys about that had over $50,000 forgiven on the public service loan forgiveness program, she was talking about it on a live on Instagram, and someone joined her live. He was speaking Spanish, I think, and making kissy faces and all kinds of things. We'll just say we hollered. It was funny. She was like, how do I get him off? I was like, how do I get him off the live? I was like, girl, let me Google it. I don't know. But it would be entertaining. Miss Sin City, share the live. Encourage my viewers to share. Please share the live, guys. I would really appreciate that. Share the live. Go ahead and like. That would be great. Go ahead and also follow. And share with your friends. You can shoot them a quick text to say, hey, you need this information. Let's see. So musical messengers, where do we apply? So for which one, musical messengers? So where do you apply for the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program? So if that is the question, where do you apply for PSLF and temporary expanded PSLF? You go to studentaid.gov. So student and then AID.gov. And then really on the front page, it'll talk about the PSLF program. And it's only one form. So when you apply, it'll let you know, okay, this many payments count towards PSLF, and then this many payments count towards the temporary expanded PSLF. And remember, way more payments now should count towards the temporary expanded PSLF, so which means you're that much closer to freedom. And then let's say you were talking about the one-time debt relief from the Biden announcement. That you can also apply on the same website. So you can still go to studentaid.gov and apply there. But remember, the application for the one-time debt relief from Biden is not out yet, but it should be out soon. It's supposed to be the beginning of October. And then you have to, the Department of Education is suggesting that you apply by November 15th. Will loan forgiveness still be automatic if income is on file? So, it's Julia is asking, will loan forgiveness still be automatic if income is on file? So I'm guessing this is about the one-time Biden student debt relief. So the $10,000 or the $20,000 if you have a Pell Grant. Will it be automatic? See, a lot of people are saying it's going to be automatic if your income is on file. We hope that it is, but I would say don't wait for it to be automatic. I wouldn't sit and wait and say, okay, my income is on file, which means it has to be your tax return from 2020 or 2021, and this is based on your adjusted gross income. So which means after your 401k is taken out and all those are taken out, then your adjusted gross income. But I wouldn't wait to just see. I wouldn't say, okay, it looks like my stuff is on file, so it should be fine. I would still apply. I would cross all my T's and dot all my I's. I would make sure that that information was updated. Okay? To still be automatic. But ideally, you would think, though, that if it shows that you have your income on file, then it should be fine. But I would go ahead and apply. I would make sure that they wouldn't be like, okay. Let's see. Oh, thank you for saying to please follow me. D Kind, I appreciate that very much. So please, yes, guys, follow and go ahead and like the broadcast and please share because I'm sure someone needs the information. Is it too late to apply for student loans? What do you mean, Elu? I don't even know if I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm so sorry. Euliea. Ulua? Is it too late to apply for student loans, or is it too late to apply for student loan forgiveness? Because it's not too late to apply for student loan forgiveness, but to apply for students, or to apply for student loans that would be eligible for forgiveness. Is that what you're asking? There's so let's say for the one-time student debt relief, let's say we're talking about that particularly. So for that, so either getting forgiven $10,000 or $20,000 if you're a Pell Grant recipient, for that particularly, your loans have to have been taken out before June 30th of 2022. So any loans taken out after that would not be eligible for the one-time debt forgiveness. But Lua, oh my goodness, I need to pronounce your name correctly. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. But can you clarify your question? Are you asking just to apply for student loans or to apply for student loan forgiveness? Linshonda Peel, how do you find out how long you've been paying? And does forbearance take time from repayment period? So how long you've been paying. So I would say it's okay. How do you find out how long you've been paying, and how does forbearance take time from the repayment period? So how long you've been paying, I would say the easiest would be to, if you have a qualifying employer and you meet the other qualifications, apply for the program. And then when you apply for PSLF and temporary expanded student loan forgiveness, the results will actually show you, they'll show you that, okay, you have 36 payments on this side for public service loan forgiveness. So that's how many payments they're counting. And then on the right side, for the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness, they'll be like, okay, you have 62 payments. So to let you know how close you are in that manner to 120 payments. So that's how you know, okay, I've been paying, this long. Because then you could just extrapolate, because you can only pay one payment per month. So then you'll know based on how many payments they're telling you, how many years that is. And then the forbearance piece, you've been paying, and does forbearance take time from the repayment period? So from my understanding, I'm trying to think about this, because if it's in forbearance, exactly what you're saying, it's not in repayment status. So which means, from my understanding, that would take time away from your payments. So those, from my understanding, if I remember correctly, those forbearance payments wouldn't count because you're not actually paying. So even though, so let's say $0 suspended COVID payments, yes, those count. But if you're in forbearance, you're not in a repayment status, and you have to be in repayment status. So that time period wouldn't count. But the other times where you're in repayment status should count. Hopefully I answered your question, Linshonda. Angela Davis. Oops. If you have already applied to PSLF but waiting, should you still apply for the one-time debt relief? Yes, I would. So did you guys hear that question from Angela Davis? So if you have already applied for PSLF, so public service loan forgiveness, but waiting, so she's basically waiting to hear back from them, should you still apply for the one-time debt relief? Yes, I would. Because from my understanding, these two things are completely separate. Completely separate. Because the PSLF requirements and the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness is separate from the one-time debt relief. So I would go right ahead and sure would apply to both of them. I would collect the PSLF, and because it's like at this stage, we're not really sure where you are with, let's say, your public service loan forgiveness payments just yet. So how many payments you have. And then the one-time debt relief, it'll reduce your principal balance just a little bit more. So by the $10,000 or by the $20,000 if you have a Pell Grant. So yes, I would do both. And so if anybody else has that same question, I would apply for PSLF and a temporary expanded PSLF, and I would apply for the one-time debt relief. Okay. Any other question? Oh, so I might be a little behind. All right, guys, let me see. Where are we? It's Julia. You are so welcome. Yes, guys, thank you so much, LaShonda Peel, West Coast, for saying follow the host. I really appreciate it so much. So please follow, please like if you could. Please share with somebody who really needs the information, because Lord knows I just want people just to have the information and to be able to do a little research on their own and then really move towards freedom. Because student loans were not supposed to be a prison sentence, okay, guys? Musical messengers, thank you. That's so nice. That's sweet. Thank you, musical messengers. You have a good night. LaShonda, okay. Sweetie, are they still discharging loans on schools that have been closed? Yes. I have chills even just reading that. Sweetie says, are they still discharging loans on schools that have been closed? Yes. Oh my goodness, I have chills. If you went to a school that is closed, y'all, the Department of Education is behind on notifying the borrowers that their school has been closed. Because if their school has been closed, when I was reading different articles, it basically said that on these schools that were closed, it means that there were a ton of borrowers that took out student loans and could not even finish their degree. And then there were plenty of borrowers who also could not then transfer those classes and credits to another university. So which means you're completely out of luck. You couldn't finish the degree, and so now you still can't get a job, and then you can't transfer your credits to then still finish school. So those loans should be discharged. But I'm trying to think of what the process is. So if your school is closed, I would start with, I would call the Department of Education. One of the first steps, because I would be like, okay, I need to notify them, because there's actually where the school is actually supposed to notify, I think it said 10 days prior to closing. They're supposed to notify the Department of Education 10 days prior to the closing. But of course, that is not high on their priority list, which is not surprising. But then that means though that the Department of Education is both unaware, and then it takes them a year or two to then notify all the borrowers. So call the Department of Education, notify them, and then ask them, okay, what are my next steps? But then I believe, if I remember correctly, you have to go to the borrower defense website. And then on there, it basically states, has your school closed, or has your school been, there was something about bad activity, like bad unlawful activity. That's also another reason that you would have your loans discharged. But it'll literally say your school is closed, fill out this form. And you basically go in and say, okay, my school is closed for this reason, and my degree is not finished, and I cannot transfer these credits. So hopefully I answered that question. But yes. So if you guys have a school that's closed or acting unlawfully, please contact the Department of Education and go to the Borrower Defense website and fill out the form. Adriana, thank you so much for saying follow the host. I really appreciate that. I am Luke. Angela Davis, you are so welcome. MNM 2.0 just got on. Where do we apply? Okay, so you're like on here. Okay, so if you are on studentaid.gov, do you see where it says public service loan forgiveness? It should be saying this right at the top. Okay, yes, studentaid.gov is where skinny jeans and big skirts, everybody has really fun names, okay? Let's see. Okay. Now I might need to get on my computer while we're on here. Because just about 2 weeks ago, when you go on the website, at the very top, it says public service loan forgiveness. MNM 2.0, do you see that? Where it says public service loan forgiveness? It was literally like the whole front. Do you see it? Thank you for saying follow the host, Mrs. They had you update. Mo says they had me update my information and waiting on updates. So that means that you applied for the PSLF program, Mo. Okay, we're going to see. And then remember, M&M 2.0, you want to make sure that your employer qualifies first. So before you get into all the paperwork and everything, make sure you put in your employer identification number first. So it says PSLF search tool. Let's see, when is the application coming online? So Gally A. Wesley, so you must be talking about the one-time debt relief. So that particular application should be coming in the beginning of October. So it's like October 2nd. We don't have an exact date. Okay, so yes, M&M is just this first homepage on studentaid.gov says the Apply for Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. And you'll want to create an account. And actually over to the right, popular topics, use the PSLF help tool. And that'll help you search for your school, or I'm sorry, your employer. Okay, let's see. And so yes, so Gally A. Wesley, so the beginning of October. So, but if you want to make sure that you're like, okay, I don't want to miss it, you can go on studentaid.gov and sign up for their updates on there. And so when the application comes out, they will email you, so then you can go ahead and apply for the one-time debt relief, okay? Thank you guys so much for saying follow the host. I really appreciate it so much. So please follow and like the broadcast and share with somebody who really needs the information. I really appreciate it so much. Oh, Skinny Jeans, thank you so much. I'll just say a professional does my hair, because when it's out, it's very large and in charge. Although I can, I'm trying to think. I think because my hairstylist does have her own line of products called Envy Me Beauty. You can find her online. So ENVYMEBEAUTY. So Envy Me Beauty. And her name is Tamika Yoakum. And so she uses her own, like literally, I'm a walking advertisement for her, because she uses her full line, her shampoo, conditioner, hair custard, all of that. But I appreciate the compliment so much. Thank you. Eminem. Oh, okay. That you just got on my live. Okay, gotcha. Oh, that you didn't get on the website. Okay, gotcha. I was like, girl, I was ready to lead you through if you wanted to. Listening Crown, thank you for the follow the host comments. I really appreciate it. If anybody else is just coming in, we are talking about student loan forgiveness, public service loan forgiveness, and temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness. Let's see, Lady Tika, how long does it take to hear back from them? So my friend Razadiva, so that she ended up getting forgiveness just recently in August. And she applied, I want to say initially in around March. I'm trying to think, was it that long? But I want to say, if I remember correctly, she applied around March. And then the official forgiveness came in August. So what is that? That's about 5 months, but I don't think it's really taking that long. But there's a lot, there's, a lot of forms to fill out, and sometimes a lot to clarify at some intervals, especially if you have more than one employer and things like that. I don't really think it took that long though, but I want to say probably at least like 8 weeks or something like that though. I might have to ask her, because I can't really remember. But she received, I want to say it was March. She started just applying and reading about it in March. And then by August, the beginning of August, she had her letter saying all of her loans were forgiven, $50,000. Lady Tika, thank you so much. Please follow, yes, and share the live. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me on a Sunday evening. Skinny jeans. Okay, you'll check it out. Okay, perfect. And then, yes, you guys can check out the studentaid.gov website and let us know what questions you guys have. Hey, Wesley, you're welcome. Madam, you're welcome. Explain the employer, just the current or how far back. So remember, so with the public service loan forgiveness, we're only going back to, let's see, what is it? October 1st. So it had to be employment, had to be after October 1st, 2007. That's how far you could feasibly have to go back on your public service loan forgiveness application. So if you were working for a qualified employer, then anybody you worked for, they'll want to know them all. And then which means that you'd have to send that paperwork out to each of them to have them sign. Because basically they're saying, yes, Johnny worked here from, 2008 to 2010. Let's see. D-kind, so explain the employer, just the current or how far back. Okay. The frequently asked questions. Because when I was there recently, I want to say that I did see some information about an appeal process. Because just because we applied and they said no doesn't mean that they were correct in their assessment. You know what I mean? Because I know my friend Roz, she did say that she literally had to say that she's like, no, my employer is a qualifying employer. She had to go back and forth with them, and they were like, no, you're right. So go to the studentaid.gov website and then check their frequently asked questions, because I believe there is an appeal process. Full paperwork and everything, I'm pretty sure, because we're only humans, right? And even though yes, you can work for the Department of Education, but it does not mean that they know absolutely everything. Ooh, y'all, I think my battery is going dead. Hold on one second here. Okay. Did you have to make 120 payments to get the public service loan forgiveness? Okay, SYDDB, did you have to make the 120 payments to get the public service loan forgiveness? So in order to get the full forgiveness of your principal balance and your interest, you do have to make 120 payments. But in the case of the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness, your payments that were $0 during COVID, when the payments and interest were frozen, do count towards its 120 payments. So almost 3 years worth of payments, a little less than 36 payments would count towards those 120 payments. I'm gonna have to take this off of here because maybe it's not charging. Hold on, guys, 1 second. I'm about to make a little maneuver here because something's not working. I think my phone is not charging and it's about to be dead. Okay. Hold on 1 second for me. Whew. Okay, there we go. Where are we with the questions? So explain the employer, just the current or how far. We got that one. And if you guys are just hopping in, we're talking about public service loan forgiveness program and the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program. So student loan forgiveness, all the questions. Let's see. So clearly 911, I just joined. I'm a first responder. How can I get my loans forgiven? Same employer, for 20 years. First responder. So a first responder should, yes, I would think qualify. But okay, so clearly 911, EIN number, and go to the studentaid.gov website and click on the PSLF search tool. Put in your employer's EIN number and make sure they're a qualifying employer, which if you're a first responder, I cannot see why they would not be, but make sure. And then you've been working full time, so at least 30 hours, clearly 911, for the last 20 years, which I would think the answer is yes. And then you will have to, when you go on the website, you will fill out one application. It'll say PSLF and temporary expanded PSLF form. And then when you fill out that form, it'll basically ask you, okay, are your loans consolidated into a direct consolidation loan? I'm like, man, you've been working there 20 years? Oh yeah, it's time to be free, all right. So you need to do this like tonight. Like, it's Sunday. Can you stay up a little longer? So go and fill out the form and make sure your loans, because it'll ask you when you're filling out the form, are your loans consolidated? If they are not, go ahead and fill out the form to make sure that you can consolidate your loans. And then you'll have to start with that because you have to make sure that you have all of your information. You also have to have your employer sign the form to say that, yes, we're confirming that she did work here for these 20 years. And as long as you've been paying for these 20 years, you should be in good standing. I would think by 20 years, you definitely should have made more than 120 payments for sure if you've been paying most of the time. And then you know where to find me, clearly 911, and you can ask more questions as you move along. But work quickly, because the temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program, that program expires October 31st, 2022. So you have to have already applied by that time frame, okay? Nick 1, I've consolidated because I had an FFEL loan. Now I have my PSLF filled out by my employer. Okay, so that's good. That's good. I've consolidated because I had an FFEL loan. Because remember, FFEL loans is like the, Family Federal Education Loan. You have to consolidate it into a direct consolidation loan, okay? And then now she's saying she has her PSLF filled out by her employer. So you should you should be ready to go, Aya. You should be ready to go. That's great that you already have done that. Thanos, nap now. I work in healthcare. Yes, I understand. So remember, just because we work in healthcare, because I call myself a drug dealer, but I'm a pharmacist. But I work in healthcare. But just because we work in healthcare, it does not necessarily mean that our employer is a qualified employer. So Thanos, go on studentaid.gov. Make sure you have your employer identification number or EIN number. So you find that on your W-2, top left corner. Type that into the PSLF search tool to see if your employer is a qualifying employer. If they are, then you can go and fill out the PSLF and temporary expanded PSLF form. I'm okay, Annie. Okay, so I'm okay, Annie. She was asking about the appeal process for the PSLF program. Her first application was denied, so she was trying to figure out what to do next. Okay, I understand. And so, question, where was the Department of Education explicit about why they denied you? So really look into that. So before you put yourself through the appeal process, make sure you understand, okay, why did they deny me and why do I feel like they should not have denied me? Okay. Adriana is asking, what if one is self-employed? Okay, so if you are self-employed, my question for you, Adriana, is that is your company a nonprofit? Because there is a caveat. If your company is a nonprofit, so which a lot of my ministry friends have nonprofits, if you have your own nonprofit and basically can prove that you have employees and those employees can say, yes, you basically confirm that you work there, because right now, HR, if you have a regular position, they confirm that you work there. So you can't be the only one in your nonprofit is basically what I'm saying. If you have employees that are working with your nonprofit, they can confirm that you work there. So which means you could feasibly have your own nonprofit that you are the head of and have that count towards qualifying for public service loan forgiveness. So Adriana, you just can't be self-employed. You just can't be self-employed only. It has to be a nonprofit that you head and that you have employees that can confirm that you do indeed work there and you have worked there for a particular amount of time. Okay? Which, of course, is 10 years, 120 payments worth. Aya, Nick. So now it's a direct loan, but Mohila doesn't have my loan yet. So should I mail my public service loan forgiveness application? So Aya Nick is saying, so now it's a direct loan, but Mohila doesn't have my loan yet. Okay, so you mean it hasn't been transferred yet to Mohila. So should you mail your PSLF? So mail your application. So now it's a direct loan, but Mohila doesn't have. Okay, so do you have any idea when your loan will get transferred to Mohila? But you know what? I don't know if it would really matter, to be honest, because it's a direct loan now, and you're just saying that you must have just received notice already that it's going to Mohila. I would say that part is really not your issue. Like meaning like when if I'm understanding your question correctly, like it hasn't transferred yet to Mohila, so they don't have it yet, but it's still a direct loan, so it should still be fine. Basically saying that the Department of Education should still be able to find your loan, even if it hasn't transferred to Mohila yet, if that makes sense. I guess I wouldn't think that would be an issue for you, because they would say, okay, we know where it is and we know it's getting transferred at some point. So I would say it should be fine to go ahead and mail your application, I would think, okay? But you know what I would do? I call the Department of Education. Call them and say, this is my loan. I've received word that it'll get transferred to Mohila. Is it okay to still mail my PSLF? Call them and get their okay, or at least ask them, okay, so what are my next steps if I can't? Do I need to wait? Is basically what you're asking. Because I hate to have you mail it and then it's delayed because you did need to wait. So best is to call the Department of Education to find out, okay? Skinny jeans. Okay, yeah. I was asking the same question, Skinny Jeans, to I'm okay Annie, who was saying that she wanted to appeal the PSLF result, because they said they rejected her application. Now she's looking to reapply. So yeah, I definitely agree. Reapply. And the question is do we know why? What was keeping her application from being accepted? Oops. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being very kind in the comments, being very kind to each other, and being kind to me. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for answering each other's questions too. That's so great, because no one knows all the information. It's impossible. So it's great that we can help each other out. Okay, thank you, D'Angelo, Winnike, for saying follow the host. Yes, guys, if you can, go ahead and follow. It'd be so great. Greatly appreciate it. And go ahead and like the broadcast and share the broadcast, because maybe there's somebody that is, I don't know, hanging out on a Sunday evening wanting to know about student loans. Let's see. Is this Carol? Okay, I don't work for a qualifying employer, but can you explain about the 120 payments? Okay, so you would want to work for a qualifying employer for the public service loan forgiveness, but the 120 payments basically works that each month only one payment is counted. So 120 payments, so equals 120 payments or 10 years worth. And I once had this question on TikTok before where people were like, hey, so can I basically overpay? Can I pay several payments or a large lump sum in 1 month? Hoping to try to speed up the process. But it turns out that when I read a little bit on studentaid.gov, you can't actually speed up the process. If you paid a large lump sum in 1 month, the Department of Education or your servicer would basically break up that $3,000, let's say for an example, and pay just your payment once a month. That's all you could do, is just your payment once a month. They would say, okay, great. You just gave us 16 payments over the next, year and a half or whatever. So you can only have one payment count per month. And the Department of Education, of course, came up with this 120 payments or 10 years worth. And this is so you can apply for the public service. You can apply and qualify for the public service loan forgiveness without having 120 payments already complete. But in order to get your loans completely forgiven, and both the principal balance and the interest, you would have to have paid 120 payments or 10 years. Which, and of course, this temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness, I want to keep reiterating that the years that your loans were frozen and you paid $0, those payments count towards 120 payments. Hopefully that's clear. Clearly 911, you're welcome. D'Angelo, I've been self-employed for 20 years. That's a long time. D'Angelo, though, you are self-employed, which is wonderful. That's amazing. By the way, congratulations. But is your company a nonprofit organization? Because if they are, and your employees can vouch that you have been working there for that particular time period, 20 years, then you could feasibly qualify for the public service loan forgiveness program. Adriana, you are welcome. I think I'm caught up with the questions. What other questions do you guys have? What time is it, guys? I don't even know. I should get a clock in my office other than my phone. So if you guys are just coming in, Denise, we are talking about, Carol, you're welcome, public service loan forgiveness or temporary expanded public service loan forgiveness program. So student loan forgiveness, all the deets. It's Nicole. Welcome, welcome, welcome. But I'm hungry and I want some ice cream. So I think I'm about to say good night, guys. I appreciate you guys so much for joining me, for being kind to each other and being kind to me. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Credit cards are great. Going to be lots of happy people and just as much as upset people with the loan forgiveness. Ain't that the truth? Credit cards are great. That is the truth. Some are really happy and some are really mad. And they've been all over some of my posts and videos telling me how mad they are. But it's okay. We're going to override them with all our happiness. Like double rainbow jujube happiness, okay? All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. And once again, if you could, on your way out, please like the broadcast. Go ahead and follow. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'm trying to do at least one video a week. This is my one video. It's a push for sure, but I want to make sure you guys have all the information you could possibly need in order to make an informed decision about whether you want to apply for the public service loan forgiveness program. Because maybe it's for you and maybe it could change your life. Change complete change and complete shift in the rest of your life. And I really want that for you guys because being student loan debt free is the way to be. All right, Carol. Love, love. All right, guys. You guys take care now. Bye.